Hello, just doing a bit of a audio log here because, first off, let me introduce myself. My name is Darren. I am actually known as the 8-bit nut. Always playing 8-bit games. Love my old games, especially ones from the old Nintendo or even Commodore 64 days. But I was thinking about lately there, something which was really surprising that came out recently was news about Dizzy. I don't know if you know who Dizzy is or even heard of Dizzy, but Dizzy the Egg was an old game on the Commodore 64, ZX Spectrum, Amstrad, Amiga, and he was probably my childhood favourite comic character, video game character, pardon me there. The video game characters mostly people look at are Super Mario or even Sonic the Hedgehog. Don't get me wrong, love both those games, have them, absolutely love them, but if someone turned around to me and said Super Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog, I'd say Dizzy the Egg. And they'd probably look at me and go, huh? Who? And I would say, yeah, Dizzy the Egg. Have you ever played Spellbound Dizzy, Dizzy Prince of the Oak Folk, or just Dizzy? There were so many different Dizzy games that came out. And they used to come out, I remember whenever they came out for the Commodore 64, they came out in these multi-packs, and the multi-packs were like 5 games, and and I thought that was fantastic, a great way to have the game. Not only did you get the actual games themselves, you also got the side games. There were ones like there was like a Pac-Man type game. There was one where you were Dizzy in like a barrel going downstream. That was called Dizzy Down the Rapids. The other Dizzy game as well, which would be a side game. There's so many. I'm not going to go into them all, but one of the other ones, which was mostly popular, was Quick Snacks. Sort of like the Fast Food Dizzy, which was the Pac-Man type one, but a little different. Panic Dizzy. I know I said I was going to say one, but I'm going to say a couple. Why not? But I thought, today I'm going to actually start talking about some of the Dizzy games, some of my memories from back then. I was hoping to actually do a podcast here with a couple of my friends when it came to some of the games, but the problem is, I don't think any of my friends really know who Dizzy is, really, apart from what they've heard from me. Jeez, my mum knows who Dizzy is more than anyone else, I know. I'm going to talk about some of my experiences. Lately, in the last year or so, I actually wanted to hunt down some Dizzy games. Unfortunately, I don't have a Commodore 64 anymore. Hopefully, I will get one again soon, because I am actually a collector of game consoles and games, and I would really like to get myself another Commodore 64. The thing at the moment there, as I said about a year ago, I actually went out and got myself and tracked down a couple of Dizzy games. And the ones I tracked down were the Fantastic Adventure of Dizzy, and let me see, there was a game, like a 4-in-1 game for the original Nintendo as well. Sorry, the Fantastic Adventure of Dizzy was on the original Nintendo, by the way. The Super Adventure Quest. Now, this is also known as Adventure Quadro, Codemasters Adventure Quadro. The other Dizzy game I found was, let me see here, Fantastic Dizzy. Right, okay. Now, the Fantastic Adventures of Dizzy and Fantastic Dizzy are actually the exact same game. But Fantastic Dizzy, the one I'm holding in my hands right now, actually is on the Sega Mega Drive. Now, the graphics are a lot better, the sound's a lot better, the music's quite fun. But, they're both pretty much the exact same game. Obviously, 16-bit, sounds a lot better than 8-bit. But, gotta love the old 8-bit chiptunes. The Super Adventure Quest one, which I mentioned there, has 4 games on it. The other 3 games, not really going to mention them because, to be honest, they're not good. They're really not good. The only one I really cared about was Dizzy, and it was Treasure Island Dizzy, which is actually one of my favourites from when I was a kid. I think Treasure Island Dizzy, to be honest, was probably the first Dizzy game I actually ever got when I was a kid, and I was an instant fan since then. Then I went on like Spellbound Dizzy and other older Dizzy games. One of the things I always remember now at the minute when it comes to Dizzy is all of the different egg characters who are known as the Oak Folk. And you have so many, and then there was other characters as well, like let me see. See, all the young folk are usually the egg characters. Then there's other characters like Zax the Wizard, who's the main villain of the the actual games. Theodore the Wizard, who's the good wizard of the games. But it's really weird because Theodore isn't really played upon in most of the games. From what I've noticed, he's more like a background character who helps out the young folk from now and then. Seamus, the leprechaun, bit of a devious. He's a bit of a villain. Not really too sure about that. Hogwarts the troll, who's again a villain, but he's not that villainous. He seems more like an obstacle more than anything else. But then again, I guess that's just the way Dizzy games are. Dizzy games are obstacles. Dizzy games it's like an adventure puzzle game where you basically are Dizzy. You go around collecting items, and you have to use those items on certain parts of the game to get to other parts of the game. It's the game goes by usually screen by screen. So if you've ever played games like, here's an example, a new game like Resident Evil, where like the first Resident Evil on the PlayStation 1, where you would go into out of one screen to the next screen, etc., etc. It's pretty much like that, except it's just 2D side-scrolling platform. Now, as I said recently, Dizzy did come back. Dizzy came back after. The last Dizzy game that came out was 18 years ago, which was Fantastic Dizzy on the Mega Drive. I know there was another Dizzy game that was on the Mega Drive, but I don't know if it's even you can even get that game or not, because the problem with Dizzy games is they come and they go. Sometimes they even get cancelled. Unfortunately, as much as there is a huge Dizzy fan base out here, there's not as much of a Dizzy fan base as you would probably like. Most of the Dizzy fan base are in the UK, because that's where the game was made. Few people may know about it in America, maybe in Europe, but in the UK that's where it's solely based. So anyway, as I was saying, Dizzy recently came back. But it was more like whenever they first announced it, they showed like a picture of Guess Who's Coming Back or Guess Who's Back even with Egg Box with Codemasters down the bottom right corner, eyes with red gloves coming out. And if you don't know what Dizzy looks like, he's a white egg with 2 eyes and a nose and usually a big smile with boxing gloves. And boxing gloves. Don't know. I don't know why boxing gloves. Maybe they're just easy to draw. Maybe because they were round. Because at the time, whenever Dizzy first came out, he was just a white egg with white hands and white feet. But then he turned into a Dizzy with red hands and red feet, which are like red boots and red. Give him some color, give him some depth, as much depth as you can give an egg at least. And then he ended up getting like one of those hats that you would see people like in a safari wear, or an Indiana Jones hat. I'm trying to remember if there's any other hats that I ever seen him with, but I think it was mostly an Indiana Jones hat and one where you go around the safari. There was even a picture of him holding a staff with an eagle on it, but I think that's just to show items he was using in the game and things like that. But the new game that came out was a remake of Prince of the Yokefolk. Now, I was excited about this too, but I was thinking, yeah, brilliant, we get a new game. Then my excitement just went out the window when I seen it was an iPad game. Something like that. And I thought, why? I mean, really, you could have got that on Xbox Live Arcade, PlayStation Network. I mean, I don't own an iPad, and I know some people do, and everything else, and, I think, to be honest, it could have been so much better in something else. I'm actually going into the Dizzy Game Facebook page now. They actually brought out a new video showing some of the gameplay. It's real. The graphics look really nice. It's not even. I was actually thinking, awesome. They might be bringing out something 2.5D, because I really don't see how Dizzy would ever work in a 3D game. If they make a 3D game of it and it actually comes out, awesome. But I really can't see how. because Dizzy it's like Castlevania, and I'm sure a lot of you out there know what Castlevania is like, and actually I've heard of Castlevania because, well, let's be honest, I've actually ranted and raved about Castlevania on Facebook for God knows how long, trying to keep the swearing to a minimum on this. So if I do swear, it's really as a Freudian slip, thanks to me being Irish, and growing up where I did. We were in the city I come from. It's just a lot of F bombs and C bombs and everything else are dropped. Just lots of them. Anyway, as I was saying, the game would have been cool in 2.5D, but it's actually 2D, but a lot, crisp graphics, and it looks awesome. It looks amazing. In fact, it's like I'm looking at this game thinking, I may never play you. I think I'm going to cry. And then I just, ball into tears. But not really. I'm only joking about that. I'm not really like that. Even though you probably don't believe me right now. But yeah, the game looks fantastic. It looks crisp. I'm looking at some of the screenshots right now where Dizzy's going around. And it's just, even the backgrounds, they just look fantastic. I mean, they did put a lot into this. It was crazy. They only actually announced this a couple of weeks ago. And the game is out a week from today. Next Friday, the game is out. It's like, wow, they had us with this return, and then boom, we're getting the game. So the game is actually coming out on the iOS and Android, and they call it Eggs Venture, Egg Shell Hen. Oh god, that's it. There's a lot of egg puns when it comes to Dizzy. Now I have to admit, I cannot say anything bad about it because, oh god, we're not yoking. Dizzy's back. Yeah, I'm okay, sorry. I can't say anything bad about this. I wrote to Codemasters last week praising them on how great it is to see Dizzy back because it's been 18 years since the last game came out. 18 years. Well, to most people it feels like 20 years because the last proper game came out about 20 years ago, back in 1991, but it was like, wow, so long without one of these games. But yet the games are still playable. They're still great. You may play them and think to yourself, these seem like they're made for kids. Duh. They are made for kids, but they are challenging. They are knowing what to do with each item. Some of the items you look at and think, yeah, this was what you must do with this item. No, you're probably going to be wrong. You're probably thinking, I mean, I remember when I was playing Treasure Island Dizzy the other night, I thought to myself, Saka, I'm going to finish some Dizzy games. I finished Dizzy Prince of the Oakfolk, which is actually called Dizzy the Adventurer on the original Nintendo. Yeah, I've actually got that in ROM. I don't actually have the official game, but the reason for that is because if I wanted the official game, I would have to pay out my behind. Because you have to get that in America on special order, and you really need to get there's like a thing called Aladdin deck enhancer, and this is made by Codemasters. Codemasters their games look very strange for Nintendo games. They do not look the same. One of the games I had, I think even my Fantastic Dizzy one might be, it's a gold cartridge, but even the gold cartridge looks different. It doesn't look like the Zelda cartridge. It looks like it's a different shape. It doesn't look like a normal Nintendo game. Same with the Quadro Adventure, the Super Adventure Quadro game. That is black. And it's a really strange shape. But it's even weirder that the old Dizzy game, the Adventure one on the Nintendo, looks like a Mega Drive game. But one of the Codemasters Mega Drive games, which is like if you've ever played the Mean Machines game, which is it is Mean Machines, isn't it? The one with the tiny cars, the other ones you used to buy years ago when you were a kid, the tiny toy cars, yeah. But Micro Machines, that's it. Sorry, Micro Machines. It shows you where my head's at. Mean Machines. But yeah, it's best as a 2D side scroller, just like Castlevania. In saying that, when I was talking about 3D, there was supposed to be a 3D Dizzy game come out a couple of years ago on the PlayStation 2. Don't know what happened to that. Don't know why. I mean, there was actually a trailer released. It's on YouTube. It is, it was one of those trailers you think, yay, brilliant, it'll be fantastic. Nope. Didn't happen. Got cancelled. Bye bye. Same thing happened to a couple of Disney games that were to come out on the Sega Master System, which was a pack called Go Disney Go, which had 3 games. Now, originally the games were meant to come out separate, but because of some budget problems, from what I've seen on Wikipedia, they couldn't do that. So yeah. Yeah, that didn't happen. I remember actually seeing the advertisements for that, thinking, yes, Disney on the Master System. But because the advertisements quickly left, I quickly forgot about it, and it never happened. So, yeah. If you've seen today, I actually did post to Facebook up showing about the Disney game as well. About the new gameplay on it. And it's like, yeah, I'm excited about this game coming out, but the problem is, yeah, I'm thinking, I'm hoping it does well, and I'm hoping they think, yeah, we'll get this on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network. I really don't care about PlayStation Network because I don't own a PS3. It's not that I'm biased or anything, because I have a PS2, an old Xbox, a PlayStation 1, a Nintendo GameCube, a Nintendo 64. I'm not biased when it comes to consoles, because at the end of the day, it's not the consoles, it's the games. I'm a wee bit weird about iPads and things, though, because, to be honest, I find them to be more of a fad than anything. I don't think they're needed. I really don't. I think, to be honest, you can get away with more if you don't even have to use those. I think you can use the computer for so much, and you don't really need an iPad for that, an iPod. I mean, I just think people like them because they like to show off. It's kind of like tattoos. They just like to show off. Oh, look what I got. Yay. It's wonderful. But I don't really care. I'm not a fan of touchscreen technology. I think it's cool. I think it's awesome. Even though I said I'm not a fan, I do think it's cool. But I have a touchscreen phone. No, it's not an iPhone. It's just an LG piece of crap. Hate it when I throw it against the wall several times a day. But that's mainly because of the touchscreen on it. The touchscreen on it is slow. It's not really responsive. It makes me send blank text all the time. It's just so stupid. But hey, what do you gotta do? That's what I get for dropping my phone in the bath. But do what the funniest thing about that is, it makes me miss having a phone with buttons. And then you're probably going to say, but why don't you get a BlackBerry then? Because Blackberries are stupid too. Okay. I know I'm going into rants here about technology and stuff, which I think is stupid. The reason being is because, well, I think that Blackberries, the tiny buttons, look at the tiny buttons. It basically is like it's just a big, keyboard on a small thing, and just don't see that point. Fair enough, Blackberries are not for me. I know a lot of people out there like them, especially for the BlackBerry Messenger. I say fair to them. That's their prerogative. But anyway, completely off on a rant there about different technology, so I do apologise. Could I go move back, and talk about Disney again? I know you're probably going to get sick about this. This podcast, of sorts. Well, I would say audio log, is basically going to only be intriguing to maybe some Disney fans who remember the game, who have played it maybe on the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64 back in the day. I know that some of you people who love the ZX Spectrum, whenever you hear me saying the words Commodore 64 out there, are going, because I know what it's like. I remember the console wars. Geez, even before the console wars, there was like the same thing when it came to a Spectrum and Commodore, and I don't think really anyone really cared about the Amstrad much. I mean, it's weird because the Amstrad graphics were fantastic. In fact, the Amstrad graphics were the best. But it wasn't really about the graphics. It was about the games and the gameplay. I remember back then, lots of people were talking about that. It was really about the games. But then again, there was all the people who did care about the graphics. I have to admit, guilty. I did care about the graphics because I was the one of these people. Whenever I seen better graphics, I was like, wow, that looks awesome. I was easily impressed. But I used to be like that. I can't be anymore. Because I think, to be honest, these days, like the Xbox 360, I have an Xbox 360. I love my Xbox 360. Graphics are amazing. People are not picky between that and the PS3. Jeez, they are pretty much the exact same. But people are so not picky about it. They always look at it and go, oh no, but this game glitches like this here when it doesn't do that in this console, blah, blah, blah. It's like, Jesus, get over it. Really, get over it. It's stupid. It's a pointless argument. And you're only saying it because you're on the internet and you're probably miles and miles away from the person who can slap you. Yeah, that's all trolls are. Just people who are afraid to be slapped, who can get away with shit and doing, being passive aggressive on the internet. Yes, I know I said shit there and I just said it again. I really don't care anymore. I am going to drop some S-bombs. And it's not so bad. Really. It's not so bad. It's not like I'm saying fuck. Anyway, moving along. So anyway, first off, on the old ZX Spectrum games and Commodore games, when it came to Dizzy, I thought they were pretty much, that's my childhood. Dizzy to me is like it is to anyone else. It's nostalgia, and the thing is, no matter who you are out there, I think, to be honest, everyone has a weakness for nostalgia. Nostalgia is probably one of the greatest distractions in the world. It's something that it makes people remember their childhoods, and people love to remember that. There's some people out there I know for a fact have problems, don't really like, remember things like that, and yeah, that's fair enough, and I do understand, especially with some people. But, there's a lot of people out there, like myself. You see something from your past, from your childhood, like, for example, Transformers. Whenever the movies came out, people went there because, oh yeah, more than meets the eye. I remember that. It was awesome. Optimus Prime, it's the same voice. It's fantastic. I was the same. I'm a huge Transformers fan. Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, same thing. So many medias. If nostalgia is involved with those medias, people will suck it up, eat it up, and go along with it. That's what I'm like when it comes to certain things, especially games, and Dizzy is one of those things. To me, I will eat that up, but I'm not going out to buy an iPad or anything for that. That's not going to happen. It's just no, not a chance, not a hope in hell. If you are listening to this and you are a Dizzy fan, I highly recommend this. There is a website called yokefolk.com. And it's a great website. If you're a fan of Dizzy, join up. Look at what they have. It's fantastic. And they are so excited to be bringing the news about Dizzy, Prince of the Yokefolk. Yes, egg puns. It's all going to be there. Now, I do want to talk about what I would like to see in the future when it comes to Dizzy. I would like to see him stay. It says here, after 15 years. I don't know when, the last Dizzy game came out was. I thought it was 18 years ago, which was Fantastic Dizzy, but it seems I was wrong, and it must have been a game that came out after that. But anyway, it's a remake of Dizzy Prince of the Yokefolk, which actually, personally, is one of my favourite Dizzy games. The one I've played, the one I mainly have played, which was on the Commodore when I was a kid, I can barely remember, but I recently played the Nintendo version of it. Now, the Nintendo version, I have to admit, is not as good. Believe it or not, it's not as good as the Commodore version or the Spectrum version, and the reason being is because it didn't have as much in it. I don't think it had as much going in it than it should have. Some of the Dizzy characters I love are like Dizzy himself, Dylan, who's like the hippie kind of version, Denzel, who's the cool attitude one. He's got an attitude like Sonic the Hedgehog. Just leave me be. I'm enjoying myself here. This is Grand Dizzy, who's like the Papa Smurf of the group. As I know it's probably bad I'm saying that, but there's also Dizzy's nephew, who actually is not really known in the games, but his name's Danny. And then there's Dozy. Dozy's fantastic. Dozy's just Dozy doesn't care. He just wants to sleep. He just wants to sleep. That's all he wants to do. Seamus the Leprechaun is kissed by the Blarney Stone, found more four-leaf clovers than anyone else, and certainly has the gift of the gab. No one knows where Seamus lives. Seamus, as you said, Seamus lives, but he isn't very good at staying hidden. Basically, Seamus, it's very strange. He comes off like he's a bit of a mischief maker and anything. He's a leprechaun. Yes, it's kind of ironic me saying that when I'm Irish myself, but yeah. Prince Clumsy, he used to be the Prince of Keldor, until Sax arrived. The shoekeeper or shopkeeper even. Yeah, I said shoekeeper. I'm not wearing my glasses, and I should be when I'm reading things, especially on the internet. Yes, I'm giving excuses. Yes, I'm giving excuses, and I will give excuses. I don't care. So, the bad guys in the game are usually, as I said, Zack's the evil wizard, Rockwart the troll. Dizzy also has a doppelganger. And I'm a sucker for these characters. I love doppelganger characters. Not really doppelgangers themselves, but for example, a character who reflects the hero. Like, for example, you've got Spider-Man and Venom. You have Sabretooth and Wolverine. You have Sonic and Metal Sonic. Mario and Wario. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. I'm sure you know what I mean. Blackheart the Pirate is another bad guy in the Disney universe. Blackheart was mainly in games like you think Blackheart, if anything, he would have been in something like maybe Treasure Island, does he? Now, it would have been cool if they did a remake of Treasure Island, does he? And actually made that and made him in it and changed it about a bit, kind of like a director's cut version. It's not really a director's cut because it's just a new version, but you call it that. Oh yeah, sorry. The Prince of the Oak game also comes out on the Android, so it does. So if you want to get that on your HD iOS or Android, I say go for it. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a sweet game. It would really be worth the download, and I would request that you do it. If you are into getting games for those, get it, have a bit of fun with it, and if you get it as well, you're killing two birds with one stone. One, you're getting a good game. Two, you're helping with making more games. There's also a few fan games out there made from Disney. For example, on the Disney fan site, you'll see some like Disney Age Adventures, which are basically all different Disney games made by Disney Age. There's lots of different ones. It's great that the fans, even after all this time, actually still make ones. So some of the games that we talk about here from the actual games would be Crystal Kingdom Disney. Crystal Kingdom Disney is basically, I'll tell you the story. The story is the sun does not always shine in the Yokefolk village. In fact, it's particular day looking remarkably glim. Stormy clouds thunder across the sky, the rain hammers down, the electricity flickers, and to top it all off, Grand Dizzy's in an awful mood. Wow, there's a lot even to talk about that. So basically, I'll just tell you what Disney games are like and tell you what you would usually expect from them. Dizzy has a girlfriend named Daisy. Daisy usually gets kidnapped by the wizard Zax, and Dizzy has to go rescue her. That is the typical story. In like for example, Treasure Island, Dizzy he had to escape the island, the Treasure Island itself. But the thing is with the games is usually this is what you have to do. Usually there's things like stars or coins or something around the game, which you have to collect. Also, on top of that, there are like items that you have to get as well. And the items you have to get, you have to actually use to progress. Like, for example, if there's a boat out in the water. But the thing is, the boat won't work unless you have like a motor. So you have to get the motor, and then you have to get the oil, and then you have to get the key to actually start it up. So there's and you have to basically you can't progress in the game unless you have the right items to get there. And usually it's kind of like you have to go here to get this item, to go there to put that item in there. And then because you did that with item, you get another item from that to go back here to do this. It is a back and forward game. Some people don't like those games. Some people don't like it when you have to do stuff like that because they look at it as busy work. Yes, it is. It is busy work. But at the same time, people find things like that fun. Myself, yes, I find it fun. Dizzy the Adventure on the original Nintendo, also made by Codemasters and also produced by a company called Camerica. Camerica make games for the original Nintendo which are unlicensed. Because of the way Nintendo were made, a lot of unlicensed games came out for it. I'm sure you know this if you ever watch videos from the Angry Video Game Nerd or something like that, or even are a Nintendo fan yourself. I'm sure you either seen or even could have some unlicensed games. Myself, the only unlicensed games I would have for the original Nintendo are the Camerica ones, which are the two Dizzy ones. I used to have another one, which was basically the Quadro Adventures, again, in a gold cart. But to be honest, I didn't need two copies of those, so I got rid of the gold cart one again. Yeah, it was an impulse buy. I guess that's something I'm really bad at. So Dizzy the Adventurer is basically Prince of the Oak Folk. And then there is Prince of the Oak Folk, which was the better off version of the game. Came out for the Commodore, came out for the Spectrum. There's Dizzy, the Ultimate Cartoon Adventure, which is the first ever Dizzy game. Now, an interesting little tidbit, a little fan information about Dizzy. Dizzy originally was not supposed to be an egg. Originally, he was looked at as just a head with arms and feet. Just a head. That's it, just like a bald head or something. Could have been, just a representation of someone that the Oliver twins knew. The Oliver twins being the people who made the game. So anyway, they started off with Dizzy the Ultimate Cartoon Adventure. I've seen some pictures and how they made the game, and I found it very interesting. It's like one large storyboard of how they actually made it, and I think very interesting how it was done. Fantasy World Dizzy, which is also another game that was another one that was one of my favorites back in the day as well. Sort of like Fantastic Dizzy, I believe, which is also, Fantastic Adventures of Dizzy. Great games, fantastic games. Magic Land Dizzy, I didn't really play that much when I was a kid. I did play some of it, and I remember enjoying it, but I didn't really get much time to play some games when I was a kid because of all my schoolwork and everything around that time. And also, unfortunately, my Commodore 64 bit the dust. Sent it off to be repaired because the tape deck died. They couldn't get the tape deck working again, and could not get, at the time, and we just could not find a replaceable tape deck. So, back then we didn't have the internet, we didn't have eBay, so, just was not happening. Spellbound Dizzy. Probably one of the favorite games of the Dizzy franchise back in the day. I played it. I can't remember it. I'm sorry. I really can barely remember it. I haven't played it in so long. As I said, it's been at least 20 years, and I'm sorry. It's just something that's just not happening. Then there's like the other side games like Bubble Dizzy, which is the one with Blackheart the pirate, where he basically makes him walk the plank and he goes overboard and he has to try and get back up again. Dizzy Down the Rapids, the one where he's in the barrel going down the rapids. Panic Dizzy, which is like a puzzle game. Bit of a childish puzzle game, not an easy one. Not an easy one at all, actually. It looks like it's made for really young kids, but wow, it's really hard. Basically, you got this conveyor belt at the bottom. It has like shapes like a cross, circle, triangle, square. And the pieces fall down. You have to make sure they get in place. Yeah, I'm sure you know exactly what that sounds like. Uh, yeah, preschool stuff. Fast Food Dizzy, which is the Pac-Man type game, which has like bad food coming after him. They kill him, which are like the ghosts. I quite enjoyed that game. Actually, it was one of my favorite side Dizzy games. Go Dizzy Go was like several little Dizzy games in one, which wasn't like not normal Dizzy games side. Like they were more like yeah, puzzle games and things like that. I've never actually played it. If I have, I don't remember playing it. I remember I think it was on the. Actually, no. This game was actually released in 1993, and it actually came out in the Game Gear. I remember seeing some things about this coming out in the Game Gear. Very limited stock of it came out. Not very easy to find. Go Dizzy Go was also meant to be the title of the Master System game that came out with the three different Dizzy games. But that never happened either, unfortunately. Quick Snacks, as I said, Quick Snacks is kind of like the Fast Food Dizzy, a wee bit different. I prefer Fast Food Dizzy myself. Um, Christmas Dizzy. I think that was on. That sounds well familiar. Christmas Dizzy. Yes, I remember that. But back in the old days as well, in the Commodore 64 and Spectrum and stuff, I believe this came out with the Amiga. I think it came out in the Commodore 64 as well. It could have came out with Spectrum, I'm not too sure. But what happened was, it was actually given out as a demo. That was like a full game, but it was a tiny, tiny, tiny full game. It was on a demo disc, a demo tape that came along with a magazine back then. Jeez, it was one of them like C64 Power, Amiga Power, magazines. Let me see. Dizzy 3.5 into Magic Land. Another game I really don't know. There's some games here. I think these ones are ones that are like hack games, to be honest. There's a few of them. Oh, Dizzy Extravagant. Oh my god, I'm not even going to go into that. Basically, just Dizzy with a load of eggs. Crash Special Edition. There's also side quest games like Dream World Pogi. Pogi being one of the characters from the Dizzy games, but it was actually a completely different game. It's like another side game. Wonderland Dizzy was to be another one for the Nintendo, but that never happened. It was cancelled before it could come out. To put it more, Dizzy games didn't come out for the Nintendo because I would like to have gotten them. I would like to be able to get more Nintendo games for that. But I do have the ROM, so I'm lucky for that. But I would really like to get myself some Commodore 64 ROMs and things like that too, because I would love to play some of the old games. I do have a copy of Treasure Island Dizzy on my PC, which I can play from the Commodore 64, which I find quite enjoyable actually. But yeah, the Dizzy games are very well getting. I know I went on for a rant here, and it's been almost 40 minutes I've been going on here about this, but I hope you enjoyed what I talked about today. If you didn't, you could. I'm sure if you didn't, you probably wouldn't be hearing what I'm saying right now, and you would have switched off long ago. But thank you very much for listening. If you like what I had to say today, I may talk more about games. I'm actually hoping to get a few more people on here to speak with me about games. Like I'm going to maybe talk about Castlevania. And I want to have a retro game experience, retro game podcasts. So thank you very much again for listening, and hope to hear from you soon. This is me, the 8-Bit Nut, saying goodbye.